Now the latest on the former Massachusetts Air National Guardsman Jack Teixeira. He pleaded guilty today to military charges of obstruction of justice.
He admitted to his actions, but also called on President Trump to reverse his convictions. Teixeira claimed the justice system was weaponized against Trump and him. NBC 10's Temi Tapa Adelaide is live in studio with Teixeira's new explanation of his actions. Temi Tapa?
Yeah, Patrice and Brian, Teixeira said several statements during today's court-martial hearing. He called himself a, quote, proud patriot, and said when it came to the war in Ukraine, he was, quote, exposing and correcting the lies that were perpetuated by President Biden and force-fed to the American people. But before we dive deeper into today's resolution, let's take a look back at what has been called the most consequential national security breach in years.
April 13, 2023, the day the world learned about Jack Teixeira. The then 21-year-old Air National Guardsman was arrested from his Dighton, Massachusetts home on serious charges.
He violated his duty to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States, and he abused his position of trust.
He was accused of leaking highly classified documents on social media platform Discord in 2022 and early 2023. Teixeira was an information technology specialist in the National Guard's intelligence wing at Joint Base Cape Cod. He was responsible for military communications networks. Investigators say he shared troop and supply movements in the war in Ukraine and plans by a foreign adversary to attack U.S. troops abroad. Eventually, in March 2024, he pled guilty in federal court to 6 counts of willful retention and transmission of national defense information under the Espionage Act. In that case, the judge sentenced him to 15 years in federal prison. The case that ends with today's guilty plea was his military court-martial. The now 23-year-old Teixeira pled guilty to several charges of obstruction of justice. His lawyers described Teixeira as an autistic, isolated individual who spent most of his time online, especially with his Discord community, and never meant to harm the United States. During his court-martial hearing when discussing the war in Ukraine, Teixeira said, quote, "It was my intent to expose and correct the lies manufactured and perpetuated by the Biden administration and force-fed to the American people by the mainstream media." It should be noted that Teixeira had a different tone when he was sentenced 5 months ago, where he said he took responsibility for his actions. The judge accepted a plea deal which includes a dishonorable discharge and no additional jail time.
During today's address, Teixeira said he's aware that what he did was illegal, but felt it was his moral obligation to share it. Live in studio, Temi Talpa Adelaide, NBC 10 News.